All right, welcome everybody. Today we have Carla from Iron Shoe Farms, and we're just going to be asking her some questions about how she runs her operation and what that means for the community in Minnesota, both restaurants and personal people. So she's been farming out here in Princeton for about 7 years now, and she's created quite the operation. She's involved in all kinds of different projects. We're going to talk about it all today. Hi.
Hi. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Welcome
for
to
real.
the farm.
Yeah. Well, we were talking on the way, right when we got here, about how this is just the dream that we're looking for and much more. You know, it's like I'm a city kid. Seth's grown up a little bit more.
I got a little bit more hobby farmy kind of thing, but I mean, this is exactly what my family's looking for. And to see it and just to see what you've done is awesome.
Yeah.
Even in that short amount of time too.
Yeah, inspiring isn't an understatement. It's inspiring, and you just walk around. You tell us you have 15 different varieties of tomatoes, and then we look at how healthy and well taken care of your animals are, and learn about the fields a little bit, and the plants you have growing here is just it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about just to give us a little bit of an overview about what you got going on here.
Sure. So at Iron Shoe Farm, we raise Hereford beef cattle. We raise Mangalitsa Red Wattle Cross heritage hogs. We grow microgreens indoors year-round, edible flowers during the season. And then we raise about 3,000 meat broilers, chickens every year.
Oh, wow.
We have about 150 egg layers, and we do Muscovy ducks as well. So those are our main categories here on the farm.
Wow, how many ducks?
We will hopefully have another batch being born here. So we do, pre-COVID, we raised around 200 a year. This year we'll probably be at half of that. But just because of processing issues and inspections and things like that, it's changed a little bit.
Yeah. Well, also with COVID, you told us that before COVID, you were selling 90% of everything that you had to restaurants, and now it's drastically changed, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So we were 90% to restaurants, 10% direct to consumer, which we've always held our direct to consumer base.
Yeah.
We had our regular customers coming every year, people that we met at farmers markets in the past, and they would do their beef sales or their pork sales through us annually, and they knew when to put their pre-orders in. But with the government shutdown in less than 24 hours, we lost all of those restaurant accounts except for 2. And it's really changed a lot. So within that 2-hour closure, I literally looked at my husband and I said, we need to change how we're doing business. And so we started an online e-commerce website. We started getting some interviews off of that with having local delivery in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. We were going down to Prior Lake, just really supporting the consumer with the stay-at-home measure. People weren't out grocery shopping. They wanted to start supporting local because the food chain has been shifting so much into supporting local.
Yeah.
And so that business has been growing. It's not nearly at the point that we were at with restaurants, but we now have serviced well over 650 new customers that had never bought from us in the past.
That is amazing, actually.
So
that's great.
That's pretty cool
to
know
only
that.
A few months too, yeah.
Yeah, to know that we're now servicing more people in our area. And then we had a little bit of a lull after some of the unrest down in the Twin Cities going on, and some of that shifted a little bit with having more business up this way. And so we're really focusing on the local food system in Princeton, Sherburne County, Mille Lacs County. There's well over 50,000 people in our community.
Right.
So if we can do just as good of a job servicing them as we did with our restaurants, I think that'll help not just my farm, but so many other farmers in our area. We actually started with that e-commerce website, bringing that e-commerce website to life. So we have a blue truck that I got with a friend of mine. She bought it on auction, and we retrofitted it with freezers and coolers, and it's a little
cool.
jury rigged, but we now have, we work with John at Ferndale Market with his turkey. So we have pre-order sales for holiday turkey going on now through him. And then we have smoked turkey breasts and hot dogs and that product category from him. We work with vegetable farmers in our area, and we come up with salad kits or potato salad kit. We have a burger kit. We have a pizza kit. So we put these recipes together to help educate the consumer, because sometimes a CSA, you get all these veggies, but you really don't know how to cook with it.
Right.
And so with all the dinners on the farm series we're doing, we're having chefs come out, and then they're helping us even write some of those recipe cards and giving us ideas of what to sell on the truck. And then we're totally local, which is so great.
Which is great.
Yeah,
and all the
it's
links
amazing.
will be in our show notes
Awesome.
for all this stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of links.
So you're involved in a lot of programs. You're involved in some governmental programs. You're trying to set up. What you said something about meat processing, trying to start a meat in Princeton. Tell us a little bit about that.
So right now, processing is at its dire. It's so needed, and a lot of what we had started to do 2 years ago was advocate for processing facilities, specifically for poultry. There are only 2 processors in the state of Minnesota doing inspected poultry, and we need to have that inspection in order to sell at the restaurants or even off the farm to our consumers. So what we found is that our main processor we were using was no longer doing inspected. We now go up to Sturgeon Lake, which is an hour and a half one direction.
Wow. Oh, geez.
So we're now putting in about a 6-hour day, just loading up, transporting, dropping off, and then we have to go back the next day and pick up. So there's one there in the Duluth area, and then down in southern Minnesota in Utica.
Yeah, I know the one in Utica.
And so now we're seeing some mobile processors pop up, but again, they're pretty much full through the end of the year. Some processors are even filling up into 2022, which we have to hopefully get our numbers in, and we're on a wait list. So whenever the butcher calls us is when we get to go in. And so what we've started doing, we have the business plan from before, and we're actually going to be starting a capital campaign for a processing facility in Princeton.
Wow.
So,
well, that's great. That's a move in the right direction for sure.
It's a great move.
I mean, that sounds incredibly stressful dealing with a 6-hour day for processing, and just
the poultry alone, man.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of things that can go wrong during transportation and all of that just sounds like an absolute nightmare. So that sounds like a great thing that you're doing. A great thing that you're doing. So yeah, when you talk about being backed up, it was kind of not shocking to me, but it was impressive that most of the livestock that you have is completely sold out. For how long in the future did you say?
We have orders going into next year for our hogs. So with raising a specialty breed, people know us for the heritage breed Mangalitsa Red Wattle Cross. It's the red velvet of pork.
Yeah.
Your pork chops look like a ribeye steak. They're red, they're beautiful, and they have great marbling in them. And people have those, and then they get hooked, and they want a half or a whole hog.
Right.
So we've got a strong following on that.
Will you explain to me quick which breed gives you what quality again? Because that was very interesting to me. So
the Mangalitsa, actually, I'll give some history. The Mangalitsa derived from Hungary.
It
is known as the Kobe or Wagyu of the pork industry, so it has a high level of fat content. And you have to slowly raise them because their cardiovascular system and such is completely surrounded with fat. They have a 7 to 8 inch back layer of fat. They're known as the lardo hog. So
Wow.
in Hungary, they actually have a Mangalitsa festival. So they're known for charcuterie, sausage
that's
making.
amazing.
And they do cured lard. They season it with salt and then Hungarian paprika, and it's super delicious. But
What's the date of that festival?
it's in February, so if we're all lucky enough, maybe
Right.
we can all go next year.
Yeah,
so
I know, right.
it's on the list.
Wow.
But that festival is pretty amazing. So a lot of us
Sounds
with
beautiful.
Mangalitsa, they get really excited.
Yeah.
And then the red wattle, these are both breeds that were facing extinction. So the Mangalitsa, there were 200 of them left in the world in the late 80s. And then there's actually a new conservation program with red wattles where there's going to be breeding programs coming up throughout the states to bring that breed back as well. And we're lucky enough to have both. They're really hard to find, so sometimes you have to go cross country to pick a couple of them up.
Right.
If you can't source them in Minnesota. But we're actually followed by quite a few people that raise Mangalitsas and that red wattle because we get phone calls all the time looking for stock, and it's hard to keep that many on hand, but we try to do our best and help other farmers out with their breeding program too.
Well, and your breeding program is completely organic, right? Like you just let the pigs do their thing, and it's been working out really well for you.
We don't do AI. Yeah,
They look super happy.
they have curly waggy tails, so that's purposeful. And then they're blowing bubbles in their mud today, so they're happy. They have a nice cool spot. But yeah, they've been doing everything naturally. So we have a boar, and we co-share it with another Mangalitsa farmer, and he goes from our place to theirs, and we confine him for a couple days when he comes back, and then he gets to go do his business again, and then we trade off again. So it works well.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And we do the same thing with our cattle. Again, we don't AI them. We're letting our herd naturally grow. We started out with shorthorn bucking cattle. We had Angus out here. We had a bunch of different kinds just to see what we liked the best, and we settled on Hereford. And they're docile. Like now we're in the pasture and they're 100 feet away from us, and they're fine. They're not going anywhere.
No.
So
yeah, no, they came up and sniffed me earlier. I mean, Yeah, you say that when people come and do the tastings or the presentation of the chefs, they're out there and they're checking all the people out while they're eating.
Just as much as we are. They're watching us, and they're being entertained right now. It's kind of funny. They're sitting there watching.
Wow, that's so cool. So quickly, I want to talk about how you do your how you take the cows out to pasture and the rotational program that you have them on. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
So we have a rotational grazing paddock system here. So we're in paddock A. We have them on this paddock, and then we interchange them and open up to the next paddock every 6 to 8 weeks. They've actually been up front here because we've been calving, and we're waiting for one more calf to be born, and then they'll go out to the far pasture past the tree line that we're at. And we have 4 more paddocks in the back there. So every 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the growth cycle with the grass, they'll just interchangeably move from one paddock to the next. And they suggest about 1 acre per head of beef, about that for grazing. So we know we have adequate spacing for everybody. We actually have more grass than we really need. So that's one way of being able to grow along with everything, is that we have adequate space for a new operation.
Yeah,
It's
that's
beautiful
awesome.
out here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Carla. I hope to continue the interview, but we're gonna switch it up. This first part of the interview is going to be available on YouTube. It's going to be free. It's going to be, hopefully, it's going to be a great advertisement for the farm. And then we're going to put the second half of this interview on our Patreon. So anybody who wants to join the Patreon can see the second part of this interview.
Super.
All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.